How many first-year salespeople in here? Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for your courage and your confidence to join Southwestern. Truly, this is the greatest personal achievement and leadership development program on the planet. It's really humbling to be here because there are so many high-powered, high achievers in this audience, and this is a real honor for me to be here. You all have heard the parable, give a man to fish and feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. Southwestern taught me how to fish. You know, I was just like you about 39 years ago. I was sitting out there, and I was scared. I didn't know if I could do it. I'm an intense introvert, and I didn't know if I could do it. I went out. I did go to the book field. I actually did fail at first and wanted to quit. In fact, I failed many times during the summer. I wanted to quit many times during the summer. And in my business, I've been in business 30-something years, and there's been many times I wanted to quit. And I've always come back to what I learned from Southwestern, these strategies about perseverance, like having an emotional purpose and reading positive inspirational material and doing the positive self-talk. Southwestern really has been the foundation of my success. My first week, went out and I got a late start. I ended up getting out there Sunday night. My car broke down. I got put in with some other stragglers that got out there to the book field late. And we didn't have time to find a permanent residence. We did find a nice lady who said we could stay a couple of days at her house until we found something else. And I got up that next morning and went out, and I was so nervous. Man, I walked around the block for 2 hours looking for a nice house. And I did, and I finally picked out a really nice house, and the house didn't buy anything. In fact, no houses were buying anything that day. I didn't sell anything. It was really very discouraging. I got back to the room, and one of my roommates had quit and gone home. And the other guys, they were pretty discouraged too. The next day I went out with every intention of having a great day, knocking on doors, and all day long I got no. I got not interested, and I didn't get inside a house. And it was pretty tough. I got really discouraged, and I went home that night. My other roommate had quit and gone home. The next morning I went out, and I worked at it, man. Of course, who's going to let a guy in the door who's so discouraged and got such a sour face like I did by that third day? And, by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was just totally discouraged. And it was 95 degrees. It was in Texas. And, I looked out, and I saw this big oak tree out in the field. And I walked out there, and I laid down under that tree. And I actually cried myself to sleep. And when I woke up, I had been bug bit from my neck to my ankles. I mean, it was like I was itching all over. Some like Texas-sized chiggers or something got me. And man, I was miserable. I went to the pharmacy and got some calamine lotion. I went back to the room and I tried to doctor myself up. And then that nice lady said that my other last roommate had quit and gone home, and my time was up. And so I gathered my things up and put them in my car, and I decided to head home. One problem, my dad only gave me enough money to get out there to Texas. He didn't give me enough money to get back. So, back then we didn't have cell phones. I had a couple of quarters left, so I put a quarter in the phone booth, and I called home. Both my mom and dad picked up the phone at the same time. And I told them I failed. I can't do this. I'm all bit and chigger bit, and I'm homeless, and can I come home? And my mom, she said, "Of course, son, we love you. You can always come home." I said, "Okay, great." I said, I'm broke. Can y'all wire me some money?" And that's when my dad chimed in. He said, "Jon, I know you can do this. I know you can do this," he said. And I said, "Okay, I'll give it a shot another day." I called my student sales manager, ended up sleeping on the floor in his room that night. And the next day I went out. I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget that first house we went to. We knocked on the door, and the lady opened the door and made a sound like, and he said something funny, and she she laughed. Next thing you know, we were inside the house. First time I'd seen the inside of a house, except the one I was staying at. We were in there, and he saw a spoon collection on the wall. He asked her about those spoons, and she went off and started telling us all these stories about all these places she'd been, and we laughed with her. And then at the end, he pulled out the book, he showed it, he wrote up the order, and we went on to the next house. And it was like that all day long. This guy, Brent, my student manager, he wasn't even trying to sell anything. He was just out having fun with people. And so that night when I was laying on the floor thinking about my next day, I thought, tomorrow I'm going to go out and I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do everything Southwestern told me, but my number one objective is going to be to have fun. I'm just going to have fun with people. I'm just going to look in those faces and find something I love and just make it my objective that their day is going to be better because I was there. Somehow I'm going to bring some happiness to their day. And I went out and that's all I tried to do. And I made 3 sales. Yeah. I made three the next day, and the following week I did pretty good that week too. And I had struggles all summer long. But I kept coming back to this stuff Southwestern taught me. But I want to tell you that when you go out next week, go out and have some fun. Make their day better because you were there. Make that your objective. And you will have some. You will have some bad days out there. You'll have some slumps. You're going to want to quit. You're going to need something. There are going to be days where you're going to say, hey, this just isn't worth it to me. And you need that emotional purpose that they've been talking to you about. My sister Karen was my emotional purpose, and I wrote down on a piece of paper, do it for Karen, and I keep that in my wallet. She's an amazing girl. She plays the piano. She plays it so beautifully. When I was 12 and she was 16, she came down with full-blown schizophrenia. And she had hallucinations and delusions and voices. And I just watched her suffer in agony. And it was heartbreaking. My mom devoted herself to my sister. But she was too ill. She had to go in the hospital. And I saw caregivers strap her to her chair and strap her to her bed. And I'd never thought about it that much, but I thought, my sister, she'll never be able to go after the world like I can. I'm going to do it for Karen. And there was many times, and during the summer when, one time I was in my car ready to go home, and I pulled that little piece of paper out, and I thought about Karen, and that kept me going. So you got to have that emotional purpose. Today I'm her conservator. I've got her in a great group home. She's happier than she's ever been. She's got 2 boyfriends. She, after I got her in that home, I helped them to build a second and a third home, and we just started on a 4th home for adults challenged with mental illness. And you've got to read. You got to do this thing about reading positive, inspirational stuff every day. I do it every day. Think about when you were a little baby. You don't remember this, but there was a time when you couldn't crawl. And you tried, you pushed, and then you'd start crying because you couldn't do it. And you were getting nourishment from your mother, and you were exercising those muscles. And so you were getting stronger and stronger. Eventually, you built up your strength from that nourishment and that struggle. And you were able to stand, and you were able to walk, and you were able to run. And now you want to soar. You're going to need to build up. You're going to need to build up some strength. And you're going to need nourishment. You need to be reading every morning, reading that stuff like the Greatest Salesman in the World, the Magic of Thinking Big, the Power of Positive Thinking. Just keep reading those books. I've never stopped. I read every morning. I read something positive. I've read so many great books that have helped me in business. Books like Think and Grow Rich, Acres of Diamonds, Good to Great. And it really works, man. And you're going to have to do those self-talk. Keep talking to yourself. I woke up, in fact, before I was fully awake, I'm saying, I feel healthy. I feel happy. I feel terrific. I want to win. I can. I will. I'm going to. Yeah. I probably say that 50 times before I get out of bed, and I say it during the day, and I say it when I have a challenge, like right before I came up here. I want to win. I want to win. I want to win. I can. I will. I'm going to. The last week of my first summer, I wanted to win the I Want to Win award, and I was running between houses. I want to win, I want to win, I want to win. I was working so hard, and I'd had some great weeks during the summer, and this was a challenging week, and I was close. I got home that night, and I added up my numbers, and I missed it. I missed it by, not much. But, you're only done when you say you're done. I went out the next morning, Sunday morning, and I sold another book, and I won that I Want to Win award. Yeah, man. You can do it. You can do it. Never give up. Southwestern it's like an entrepreneurial boot camp, really. It's been the foundation of my business. In fact, my second summer, when I picked up my check from Southwestern, I went and bought a video game. I bought a Space Invaders video game, my first video game. Yeah, actually, Southwestern helped me start my business. If they'd have got a cut of the, man, it sure would be worth some money now. But they weren't doing that back then. I guess I never stopped being a bookman. I just, my books turned into video games. My residential doors turned into commercial doors. I just kept on prospecting and demonstrating and closing. And when I graduated in 1981 with a degree in industrial engineering, I just decided to continue being an entrepreneur, and I stayed with my business. And over the next 20 years, the next 20 years were challenging. I failed in business many times. I mean, I met failure about 6 times. In fact, in 2001, I had no revenue coming in. I didn't have a product to sell. I had people on my payroll I had to pay. And you learn how to find a way. I just kept coming back to these Southwestern principles, these strategies of perseverance, having an emotional purpose, reading something positive and inspirational every day, and doing the positive self-talk. It really works for me. It worked for me. I wanted to quit many times, but I just kept going. I sure am glad I did. And the outcome is great. I mean, I'm the happiest guy I know. I've got... you heard from Dan, I sold my business. I live on a beautiful big farm. I've got about 12 horses. My daughter and my wife like to show horses. I've got a private jet. I'm the pilot. I fly my family all over the place. Yeah. We've flown to Aruba, the Bahamas, Cayman. Life is great. I'm really living the dream. I've got a foundation, Yarbrough Foundation. I do a lot of charitable work with that. I'm looking forward to doing more of that now that I got the time. And, they're not paying me anything to be up here. I just wanted to come out here to tell you guys, you can do it. Don't quit. Finish what you've started here. This is going to be the smartest thing you've ever done. It worked for me. I think it'll work for you. In one word, I would say it's just empowering what you're going to learn here. And I thank God that I swerved into that room for that interview on how to sell books, and I learned how to fish. You can do it.